Good morning, traders. It is Wednesday, August 22nd. Taking a look at the morning charts, we had some pretty good movement yesterday, and we're getting not really much movement going on this morning. We are seeing equities pull back a little bit as the US dollar tries to put a bottom in, and we're going to see a little gap down at this time. But let's start off with the US dollar index. Here you can see we've got this key support level, which we've seen the US dollar work its way down into, and again, it's formed a nice five-wave pullback. This pullback here, usually after a five-wave move, doesn't matter which direction it is, usually there's some type of consolidation or reversal in the market. And the fact that we've come down into a key support zone, and the weekly chart of the US dollar index is very bullish still. Overall, I'm looking for much higher prices in the US dollar index. So if we see higher prices, then we are going to see stocks and commodities fall under pressure. Now, we saw yesterday and the day before, we saw the US dollar really pull back. Overall, the US dollar came down, touched this level, and really started to try and hold up. Now, if you just look at the simple price action, the size of this drop that we saw right here, very similar to previous drops. When you get a long drop to the downside, when you get a strong move like that, usually, and it comes down to support, you've got to expect there's going to be some type of bottom in the next session or two, or in the next few candles. It really depends on the time frame you're looking at. But overall, you can see we've had a nice move to the downside. It still could squeeze down even lower here into this level, but overall, I think most of the downside now is finished for the US dollar index, and I think there's a good chance that we could see it have a nice bounce or start a big rally to the upside. Looking at commodities, how they're reacting this morning, you can see here we've got the crude oil chart. We're zoomed way out about a year. You can see we've had a nice strong run right up into resistance, and the 100 is going to act as the key resistance level, but we've got all this consolidation pretty much right through here, which is right where the crude oil is just starting to get up into, and that is starting to act as resistance. It's stalled out there for a couple trading sessions. It may squeeze up a little bit higher, but overall it's got a lot of work to do. It's going to become fairly choppy in that area. If you just draw a couple quick trend lines, you can see where we're likely to see crude oil kind of work its way up, where the top of the channel right now is around the 100, so it could continue to squeeze up. Bottom of the channel is back down around the 93, 94 area. Overall, if you were to draw an even tighter trend line, that it's been walking up here very tightly. We've been going up this nice steep kind of rally, and at any time it could, once it breaks that support level, it's going to have all kinds of short intraday pivot lows all the way down, going back several days, and we're going to see crude oil pull back pretty quickly, probably somewhere right down into this level, which is a previous high, through this consolidation here, and again it'll be down to support trend line, so it'll have multiple support levels, as in horizontal support and trend line support. So overall, that's kind of where we stand. Overall, in this blue box, it's going to become probably very choppy, more unpredictable. It's going to have some wild price swings intraday. Not something you really want to get involved in once price gets up to that level. If it starts to show a topping pattern, then we may be looking to short it. We could see crude oil actually continue to head down, but there are things going on overseas that I think could keep crude oil elevated for some time, and it's going to make it very unstable. Looking at natural gas has been pulling back here. Nice multi-wave correction falling wedge pattern. We did pierce these pivot lows right here. We didn't really pierce this kind of pivot one back here, and I was hoping we were going to get one more squeeze lower. Yesterday we had a jump up in price, came up to resistance. Let me just zoom in a bit. You can see a little better. We had it come up, and then it sold off very strong during the day, coming right back down to the lows. It did recover nicely, and now it's holding up with almost a little bit of a bull flag pattern, looking as though it might want to break out of this base. If we just see draw a resistance trend line there, you can see it's been under here, resistance, resistance, resistance. It's come back up, so now we've had a little bit of a run here and a bull flag, and it looks as though it may want to start to break out and start to head higher going forward. So we'll keep our eyes open for that. We may get into a small position here. I do think there is some room for crude oil to continue to pull back, but if we take a small position and keep a loose stop, then I think we've got a good opportunity at least to get our foot wet here, because if it does start to reverse, natural gas has a tendency to really take off and run, and getting our foot in there is something I think we want to do. So we might be getting long natural gas today with a small position, and again, if we do get a breakdown and a drop down even further to around the 260 area, then we'll be looking to add to that position. Looking at precious metals, we saw a big surge in precious metals the past couple days. Gold finally caught up yesterday. If you zoom back the big picture, you can see we're still under long-term pivot high down trend lines. We did break this previous cluster of highs here. Now we didn't really close above the previous pivot high. It ended up jumping up, closing back down below it. But overall, gold is trying to follow suit with silver, which has had a nice run. And you can see we're getting closer to an upper resistance zone. The downtrend line, just looking at the price action here, if we were to just take the average volume traded through here and put that across, you can see we've got a big consolidation right through here. We have got lots of sideways kind of consolidation as I tried to eat through there. We've got lots of consolidation right through here. So there is going to be a lot of resistance for gold coming up into that level. Once it gets there, I think we'll probably see some type of pullback, and especially if the US dollar bounces, I think we're just seeing a lot of people kind of jump on gold here and squeezing this kind of breakout of these previous highs. We've had this nice rising bottom, which I think still could get shaken. I still think we could see one more drop down here and really shake the market out before it actually goes up, and gold has a tendency of doing that. But overall, it's starting, these are the first signs of a trend reversal. We're starting to break some short-term pivot highs, and now we've got to break it down trend line, and then from there we'll see the momentum most likely start to pick up. Looking at silver, you can see silver, this is zoomed back about a few months here, and you can see we had a breakout above this first resistance level, and it shot up, and now we're coming up to the second resistance level. We're starting to become a little more unstable. You got a couple, let me zoom in a little bit here. You've got a couple of wicks going up, selling back down, another push up, sell back down. So starting to become a little more unstable as sellers linger up around this 29.75 area. Looking at gold miners, here's the gold miners chart. Now we came up yesterday, pretty much tagged that resistance level. They sold back down. We'll see what kind of action happens with gold miners going forward. They tend to lead. Overall, we still have to break this down trend line. We have to break this previous pivot high. Once those things happen, then any first pause, we could potentially buy the breakout as long as it has a strong closing on the session. But overall, usually once you get a breakout, the first pullback is usually bought, and prices can usually go up from there. Now, looking at bonds, here's the bond chart. We saw a nice bounce in bonds from the lows yesterday. It was about from the low yesterday when I was thinking about going long. Instead, we did the VIX, which has, I think, more potential and has kind of a quicker shot at what we want. Bonds moved up 1% yesterday, and our VIX play moved up 4.25%, almost 5% for the Canadian one. We took off half the gains, moved our stop to break even. But overall, bonds look as though they're going to break out and they're going to continue to move up for another % or two before they run into serious resistance. And serious resistance is going to be right through this level right here, which is through this consolidation. There's a lot of bonds traded right there. We have, of course, this pivot low, pivot high, and of course it was support, and then it became resistance, and that's where we would drift up into eventually, and most likely probably see bonds start to stall out. Looking at the SP500, here's the SP500 daily chart. You can see we were riding up this upper trend line. We spiked above it yesterday morning, and market was all these cycles were right up in the top here. Everything was showing that the market was overbought. We were trading up into previous highs, pierced to new highs, and usually that's when all that happens. We usually see the market pull back, and we ended up shorting pretty much right at the top using the VXX ETF, and of course the market pulled back pretty much right after that for the entire session and through overnight trading this morning it's continued to pull back more. So there is potential for a nice pullback in the equities market. Just using the daily chart, you can see where we kind of stand across here. There's a pullback potential all the way to here, which is about a 4% drop, which is a very sizable drop, especially if you're holding the VIX. We could see it jump 20 plus percent. Anyways, we're going to see how things play out there. Looking at the SP 500 futures chart, this is the past 4 trading sessions. Yesterday, you can see we had the run up in the morning. We came right into the 11 o'clock reversal time. Market was looking overbought. Everything was showing that market was going to top for at least the day, and of course the 11 o'clock reversal time we wanted to get into the VXX, because usually you're going to see an intraday reversal, and we saw the intraday reversal start to stall out at first support trend line, which are just this red line here. That's when we took some partial profits, and it continued to break through and break down through all these other little support levels here. And it had a little bounce into the close yesterday, but overall in overnight trading we've seen it continue to sell down. It's had a little more of a pause. It looks as though it may take more of a pause today. It could trade flag sideways for a longer period of time, but overall we saw some distribution selling yesterday, which is what we're looking for, and I think lower prices are going to be popping up in the market here going forward. Anyways, that's it for this morning, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.